Hey there yogis, I'm Nicole. Welcome back to my yoga time and today's practice. I have another class for you in the Yin Meridian series. So this one we're focusing on the kidney and bladder meridians. Now I have done a class for the kidney and bladder meridians a couple of years ago. And this is certainly a different sequence, different postures, and a few different acupressure points to play with as well. So our kidney meridian line runs up the front side of the body and represents the yin energy, while the bladder meridian runs down the back side of the body, representing the yang energy. The emotions relating to the kidney and bladder meridians are those of fear, restlessness, versus peace and wisdom. The bladder meridian is also known as the guardian of peace. So this point is on our foot, and it's easier to find if you just point your toe down a little and then take your hand to the sole of the foot. And by pointing the foot down a little, you should find that little divot, that little indent, which is about there. Often for people, these pressure points can feel a little tender. So just be mindful of how much pressure you're applying. A little discomfort's okay, but of course we don't want to experience any pain. So you might like to just gently pulse on that spot, or maybe move in a circular motion. Just be sure to maintain deep, smooth breath and keep the jaw relaxed. So this point is said to be especially beneficial if you're feeling unmotivated, lacking vitality or feeling stagnant, anxious or depleted, feeling disconnected from your purpose, or even being overly influenced by others. I'm going to move to the other foot now, but of course if you need longer on that foot, please take it. You can always pause the class. So again, if you're unable to find that spot straight away, just point the toes down, look for that divot, that indent. Again, you know you've got it if there's a slight amount of discomfort there. So this point is very grounding, said to be helpful in clearing the mind of excess thoughts, calms the spirit, is said to ease any anxiety or fear, reducing restlessness, and also reduces any excess heat in the body as we stimulate that water element. So acupuncturists often use this point to help reduce high blood pressure. It's also said to be therapeutic for headaches, dizziness, and insomnia as well. So please take longer there if you need to, otherwise we'll move on to our next acupressure point. So there are 67 acupressure or acupuncture points for the bladder meridian. It is the longest running channel in the body. Today we are working with number 10, which is also known as the heavenly pillar or the celestial pillar. So I'll be moving to the back of the head for this one. So I find it easier if I just take my fingers to the very base of the skull, just in the middle there, and then just separate the fingers just a centimeter, maybe a centimeter and a half. And again, you're looking for that indent, that gentle indent, often a little sensitive. So I prefer to take a circular motion here, but again, you might just gently pulse or just hold the pressure there. And be sure to breathe slowly, deeply. So this spot is said to be especially effective if we're lacking self-confidence or motivation, lacking faith in ourselves, if we're feeling unsupported or disempowered, even overwhelmed. So this acupressure point calms our spirit. It eases fear and helps us to tap into our deep-rooted courage and our inner strength. And if we're all up in our heads and our busy thoughts, it helps to reconnect us with our whole body. Please do feel free to take longer here, otherwise moving on when you're ready. And the mudra we'll take today is Buddhi mudra. So if you're a regular to my classes, you probably practiced this one with me before. It is one of my favorites. Here we're connecting the tip of the thumb to the tip of the pinky finger. Pinky finger represents the water element and also communication. In Sanskrit, Buddhi represents our intellect and also perception. This mudra is said to invoke mental clarity, free-flowing, intuitive communication, and calms the mind. So let's begin coming down onto your back, and make sure you've got a block close by. Once on your back, we're lifting up those hips, coming into a supported bridge pose, but just keep the block on the flat side underneath the bottom. And then take a hold of the left knee. And if you can, let the right knee fall out to the side and then just wiggle that foot over to the left, just a little. So you'll be feeling a little sensation down the inner thighs, around the groin. If this is causing any discomfort with that right leg on that angle, you can always bring the sole of the foot to the floor instead, or you can straighten and relax that leg. And as with all my classes, I encourage you to place the very tip of your tongue where the teeth meet the roof of the mouth. Gently toning through the back of your throat for Ujjayi breath. And we have 4 parts to the breath: the inhalation and pause, the exhalation and pause. So see if you can witness those 4 parts of your breath. And let's prepare to change sides now, placing sole of the right foot to the floor, releasing the left leg. And breathing into the sensation. And let's release that right leg. Just taking a few breaths here with both legs straight. You might even like to stretch the arms above the head. And when you're ready, bending those knees, lifting up the hips, removing the block, and coming down 1 vertebrae at a time. Touching down to the mat, feel free to take the knees and the hands. Inhaling to straighten the arms. Exhale to bend the elbows. So in just a moment, we will come up to seated, and you can either roll to your preferred side and push yourself up, or you can cross at the ankles, take a hold of those big toes, and a little rock and roll. Nice massage along the spine before coming up to seated. So from here, let's straighten your left leg, bend your right knee, coming into a seated pigeon pose. So if you can, place your right ankle above the left knee. If that's not an option due to your knee or hip, you can always place it just below. So a few options here. Here is option one. Option two, a little deeper if you bend that left leg, and deeper again if you bring that heel in nice and close to the buttocks. So we're not holding this pose for too long. We won't treat this one as a yin pose. Just here for a few breaths as we open up the outer hip, that piriformis muscle. And if you feel like rocking like I am from side to side, please do so. So it's a pivotal part of the body which often holds a lot of tension and can really inhibit our forward bends, but it can also feel like a nice counter stretch after our back bends when we target that outer hip area. Okay, let's move on now. Straightening your left leg. Two choices with the next pose. Either just bringing the sole of the foot to the thigh and coming down like so. Now you might need to prop up that hip and knee. If your hamstrings or your back are tight, I want you to prop up your left knee as well. You can always use your blocks to support the head as you come down. You can always take the bolster vertical, or if you have limited range of motion, you can come to a chair instead. Option two, if your knees and hips permit, we're going to cross the right leg over the left so that you're stacking the knees. So we're going to feel this a little more than in the outer hip and also along the back. So I personally like to place a prop underneath the straight leg there because the weight of the top leg can sometimes feel like you're hyperextending behind that bottom knee, which is not a good sensation. So when you're ready from here, just folding forward, allowing the back to round. Remember, we can't stimulate, stretch or lengthen the back when it's straight, because when it's straight, those muscles are contracted. So passive here in our yin practice, option to take the palms up and find Buddhi mudra. And if you are able to configure your props to support the forehead, please do so. Begin to breathe into the back. Feeling the back expand with your breath. And follow your next inhalation, starting to come out of the pose nice and slowly, moving your props to the side. We'll just take a brief open twist here to counter stretch the spine. So we want the right foot on the outside, excuse me. So we want the right foot on the outside of the left knee. We're going to roll over onto the left. So I'm sitting only on my left leg. Lift the right buttock off the mat. Press your right arm into the inner knee and maybe look over your left shoulder. And let's release, come back to center. Changing sides now, coming into that seated pigeon, left leg. Into whichever variation your body says yes to. And do make a habit of breathing into the part of the body that's catching your awareness. Where attention goes, energy will flow. And let's release now. Straightening that right leg. Again, either having the sole of the foot to the inner thigh or crossing that leg over, stacking the knees. Plenty of props there to support your body as best you can. Our props are certainly not a handicap. We want to feel like we're being supported and held in the pose. Coming down whenever you're ready, allowing that back to gently round. Turning the palms to face up and finding Buddhi mudra. And if you can't gently deepen the breath in the back side of the body, that's a sign you've gone too far. And when you're ready, inhaling to lift up. Moving props to the side, coming into that open twist, sole of the left foot to the floor on the outside of the right knee. Sitting only on the right leg. And coming back to center. Well done, yogis. Moving into a wide-legged forward fold now. So depending on the formation of your hips will depend on how you feel in this pose and what your range of motion is. So if this truly isn't comfortable for you and you're close to a wall, you can lay yourself down, take your legs up against the wall, and then allow those legs to come out wide. If you have that very limited range of motion and you don't want to use the wall, if you've got a bolster, you can take it to the vertical height, or of course you can bring over a chair and just rest on the chair. Otherwise, we'll come down as far as is comfortable for you. If you need to, you can always bring the legs a little closer. You can always bend the knees. You can always elevate the hips on a pillow or rolled up towel. Then when you arrive in the pose, once again, I'm encouraging you to turn the palms up and take Buddhi mudra. keeping the jaw relaxed. Checking the placement of your tongue. Ujjayi breath rolling over the back of your throat. And when you're ready, gently lifting up. Avoid rushing out of these long holds. When you're ready, you can always take the hands under the knees. Help those legs come back together. A little squeeze. And then from here, we're going to move into our Sphinx pose. And this is the one I'm going to use the bolster for. But again, you don't have to use any props here. You can just lay flat on your belly. If you are using the bolster or your pillow, bring your blocks over as well to rest your arms. So your navel will rest on the bolster, arms can rest on the blocks. If it's comfortable for your neck, try and keep your chin parallel to the floor. If you find that you're fatiguing and you need to support the head, you can always take the hands to the jaw or frame the face. If there's any catching in your low back, just take the feet a little bit wider or move the elbows further away from the ribs so that it's not as deep a back bend. Just feeling the navel press against the prop or the floor as you breathe. The breath is gently rocking the body. Let's release the pose. Moving back into a child's pose now. You have the option of using your props underneath your forehead if you need to. I'm going to bring my forehead to the mat. Hands can be next to the feet, palms facing up, and taking your mudra once again. Feeling the breath spread across the back. You might even like to take a little self-massage here, making fists with your hands and just gently pummeling the sides of your legs. You can move to your lower back or your buttocks. And even a little higher towards those kidneys. Just avoid being directly along the spine. Either side is good. And when you're ready, gently pressing yourself back up. So we'll recline once again, using your blocks, coming down into an upper back bend. So just have, if you can, the block under the head at the highest height, the one under the shoulders under the second height. If that's too strong for you, go to the flat side under the shoulders, second height under the head. I just want you to make sure that the block under the head is higher than the one under the shoulders. So this top edge of that block there is going to meet the top of my shoulders. So we just want the block under the head, the very edge of that block, to meet the base of the skull. And if your back is a little niggly, just keep those knees bent. Otherwise you can straighten and relax the legs. Arms by your side, taking Buddhi mudra once again. And a little self-massage here. So as you exhale, slowly let the head fall to the left. And then as you inhale, you'll come back to center. Very slow movement, slow breath. And exhaling over to the other side. So at some point you'll be rolling over that acupressure point for the bladder, the one we stimulated at the beginning of the class. Feel free to take a few more rounds if that feels good. Otherwise, coming to stillness when you're ready. And when you come to stillness, if you have the urge to lower the block under the head to match the shoulders, feel free. And when you're ready to release the pose, gently bend those knees, turn the palms down, tuck in the chin and bring yourself halfway up to seated. Remove your blocks and then recline onto your back. Once on your back, you might like to take a few breaths with the feet as wide as the mat, knees falling in to touch. And just noticing any newfound space along the back. In your own time, we'll move into a spinal twist, crossing the left leg over the right leg, allowing the knees to come down to the right, using a prop underneath the legs for support. If this is too intense on your hips, you can uncross the legs and have a block in between the thighs instead. Having the legs crossed will just allow that sensation to return into the outer hip there once again. Head can stay in a neutral position, or you can lift the head, move the back of the head to the right, and then turn your head to the left. Palms facing the ceiling. Buddhi mudra once again. And for your last 3 breaths here, let's exhale through the mouth. Har out the breath. Let's inhale those knees back to center. Moving the hips a little to the right, crossing right leg over the left. Lower down when you're ready. Adjusting the head if that feels okay for your neck. Relaxing the buttocks. legs, the hips, as you give in to gravity. Option to hire out the breath for your last 3 breaths here. And when you're ready, lifting up those knees, uncrossing the legs, coming into your Savasana, and I encourage you to place either your bolster or your pillow behind the knees. If you don't have a pillow or bolster, you can take one block under each thigh instead. You just want those legs to relax and fall heavy. Shoulders tucking under, palms facing the ceiling. Taking Buddhi mudra once again. Softening the forehead. Relaxing the tongue and jaw. Begin to inhale a little deeper now. Swallow if the mouth is dry. Feel free to wiggle the toes and fingers. And following any urges to move or stretch. Rolling falling to your preferred side when you're ready. And then coming up to seated in your own time. Thanks, yogis, for practicing with me today. I hope you're feeling peaceful, with clarity and a sense of calmness. Stay tuned for the rest of the Meridian series, and if you have any class requests, please feel free to make those in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the class, please do subscribe to the channel. Wishing you a lovely day. Namaste.